So the first thing for me was to have someone that can sort of come into our world and understand the needs in our lives and the ministries that we're passionate about. More than someone that just preaches on Sunday and that's all we see of them. I like to have someone who's interested in our lives, I guess. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing I put was someone that's more knowledgeable than me in the Bible. I think that's pretty much given. And then the third thing was someone who sees unity in our future, who can bring us all together and realize the importance of the body working as a body, working together instead of just separately by ourselves. So someone who sees that, who has that sort of vision. And then the last one was someone who is willing to see the problems in our ministries or in our congregation, and who is willing to, has the courage to bring that up to us and to make changes where it's needed. I guess for me that would mean more like an outreach focus, someone who's more stubborn than we are if we're empathetic to things. So to keep pushing us on to make changes wherever we need to, even though sometimes we seem to need a lot of encouragement. So those are the things that I have.
Where we see ourselves in the next couple of years, 5 years, or whatever it may be. And when I think of that, I think of, I guess, growth, spiritual growth, personal growth. And if I were to name maybe one or two things that I'm looking for in our new pastor, someone that can engage each of us, because I feel that a lot of us may be kind of stagnant in our growth, and I think someone that can be engaging and really encourage each of us to take on new things, maybe different ministries, so that it's not just the same year over year. I think someone that is approachable outside of, let's say, Sundays, because I recall, there's pastors that I've known before in the past, there's certain ones that I've been able to approach outside if I have any kind of problems or any troubles that might be on my mind. I can easily go up to them, and this really helps me as a person to get over those humps. So kind of alluding to what Stephen's also talking to, having that relationship and engagement are the two biggest things that I want in our new pastor.
I was asked about what my vision for this church is, I think. And my vision, I'm just throwing things out there. These are things that I have in my mind. It's huge, but if it gets any of you guys excited about what potentially our church could become, it would be great for you guys to jump on board and help us expand our church. So, impact to the greater community. So not just the generally the Chinese community, with us being youth, where our parents are generally going to the Chinese service. People like that is a little bit different. But expanding to that greater community, and also expanding to this specific community that our church lives in, I guess. And I think only Michael and a very a handful of people actually live in this community, and I would like to see this community impacted beyond just just Chinese people coming in from the suburbs and stuff like that, coming in on Sunday mornings. I would like to see a full-time youth pastor, paid servant leader such as a worship servant leader, children's ministry leader, fellowship leader, things like that, just so that it's not, I know somebody like Ardell, who volunteers, or people that have done ministry in the past that volunteer over and over again, they're giving so much of their time away, they're giving so much of their energy away, and that it takes up so much of them. And if we're able to have the resources to give back to them, it'll relieve some of that stress that it entails for us to have that person, you know, every single Friday or every single Thursday or whatever. And it also gives a more of a sense of responsibility to people. A growth challenge in numbers and in faith, you know, if each one of us spoke to one person a week, that would be 52 people that I think Ardell talked about it, but if we talked to one person to invite to church once a week, generally it's 1/3 of the people will show up. So if we each person, that would be 15 for everybody in this room, which is crazy if we're able to do that, which would entitle a new building, or at least a building that doesn't fall apart or floods every time it rains. Yeah. Handicap accessibility in this building, and also good transportation as well. Like for somebody like Louise, you know,
I mean, no, I'm serious. I'm so sick of like even accessible signs. Like that's why I'm going. Thank you. At least somebody, you know what I mean. It was
one of my visions when I was servant leader back in 2006, and nothing's been done because we haven't really put together a full vision. So if anybody has a passion for that, definitely. Founded on prayer, definitely. Nobody comes to prayer meeting anymore. We have a sign out there that says prayer meeting on Thursdays. 1 or 2 people show up every single week. So it would be great if we could, you know, found our church on prayer. There was a group that prayed for 100 years straight, and ironically, it's the exact same time that the British Empire grew. So 100 years straight for 24 hours a day. Somebody was praying in that community for 100 years. So prayer, you know, if we could find prayer time, something based on the ends of Acts 2, you can review this in the video, I'll post it up. English fellowships until at least the small groups are sustainable. You know, we have small groups and things like that. They're not very sustainable because there isn't very much training or leadership with that. So if we could have one big fellowship or one big college fellowship or career fellowship, I think that would, until we're sustainable, that would be great, and then go to small groups. A toddler ministry, a nursery, you know, there's nothing for babies, there's nothing for toddlers for the English ministry anyway. Oh, I guess Dorothy. But like, there's nothing for that baby's age gap. So if we could have something like that, that'd be cool. A more autonomous English congregation, more forefront technology ministry. I know a lot of our newer people have come because, you know, we're on the internet. We're one of the first churches that show up when you do a Google search in Edmonton. You know, something more video-oriented, social media-based, application-based. So we'll have iPad apps or iPhone apps or Android apps, so that, hey, you know, oh, I can download this app. I can, you know, if I miss the announcements, oh, there it is. Or, you know, how do I get to this church? You press on it and your phone tells you how to get here. Something like that, that connects a lot of people together, where all of us are involved in, you know, Twitter or Facebook. You know, those of us that are already using that stuff, you know, replace some of that time to have a community, you know, outside of church. More leaders, not just a few, and not dependent on one pastor or one leader. That's what I see. More people-oriented, you know, leaders, where we do one-on-ones and visitations with people. More baptisms, of course. And I would actually like to see, it might be a big kind of crazy thing, but even fellowship leaders baptizing, you know, people that they lead to Christ, you know, that would be really, really cool. Faith-based life application workshops. So basically, you know, if people have, like, I know, like, you know, things like finances or things like, you know, maybe even working out or nutrition, you know, people that have talent within ECBC or a passion for something, who can utilize that talent for ministry of some sort, or like Michael, you know, he does a community garden, you know, whatever you're good at, you know, we would love to be able to have people utilize that to outreach, like art, like instead of having, you know, Google downloaded images, you know, I know a lot of you do art and take pictures. If we could put your art up there, or your videos up there in the background during worship, that would be really cool as well, to utilize that talent. And you know, cooking, music lessons, tax clinics, things like that. Everybody as a welcome team. So instead of just having one welcome team, or ushers right now, it would be cool to remove the name ushers and have everybody as a welcoming person, and to have everybody, you know, talk to 3 or 4 people at the beginning of worship, and having everybody show up on time. You know, if we can set a certain standard, I think more people are more likely to follow that standard. Definitely, I guess the ministry see growth. Which ministry I think should see the most growth in things that are the youth are more involved in: sports, technology, social media oriented kind of ministries. So that's it.
I guess Stephen and Jeff kind of addressed some of the things I wanted to address too, and I think no church is perfect. There's always going to be some problems, and we need, I guess, a pastor who doesn't neglect that area but will address it, and it's not something that you kind of sweep under the rug, but bring it to the church, and that we can work on it together. And another thing that I found would be beneficial would be, like they mentioned, somebody who could unify our church, because sometimes we can see, I don't know, there's not as much community as I hope to see within the church, and I think we need that in order to reach out to other communities, to be a community ourselves. And I guess finally, a pastor who takes the effort to get to know each other, to know the members personally, so that we can figure out what our gifts are and be able to use those gifts to serve our church, because I see a lot of the same people serving God, and I know serving the church, and I know that a lot of us are capable of doing it, and so a pastor that can help us realize our own spiritual gifts and be able to use and apply to the church would be great.
I really don't have too much to say. I think in terms of where I'd like to see our congregation in a few years, I want to see a very welcoming and passionate congregation. I know for me, for example, I've grown up in this church, and so that being said, you get really comfortable with your role in the church, you get really comfortable with your group of friends in the church, and I think that can be dangerous, because we shouldn't just be stagnant Christians, like Jeff was saying. So I want a congregation that's passionate about reaching out to the community, that's passionate about expanding God's kingdom, and I hope we have a pastor that shares that type of passion. I think we're really lucky in the sense that our congregation is so diverse. We have people from like junior high, like Tammy, we have people in high school and university, we have young families and career people, and so people are in all different stages in terms of where they are in their spiritual growth. So I think it's important that our pastor is able to support everyone and encourage their growth and challenge them as well, especially in terms of our youth. We have a really great bunch of youth here, and they all need to be challenged, because eventually they're going to be the leaders of our church. So hopefully our pastor can do that as well.
For the vision of this congregation, what I'm looking to is I want everyone to willing to welcome people, to be a warm heart people. Okay, one of the testimony I heard from interviewing the baptism candidate is when he walked in, he by himself. Okay, he walked in, the Cantonese congregation, one of the members, he welcomed him so well. Okay, he feel overwhelming, really badly. Okay, how come the people from this church, from this congregation is so nice to me? Okay, I'm just a newcomer. Okay, and the next day they follow up, they give him a call, and then they go visitation. Okay, on the same week. Okay, so and then within 4 months, his whole family's turned to God. Can we do that? Yeah, let's go forward. Okay, so I would like to see our congregation to be more welcoming people. Okay, no matter it's Chinese, Caucasian. Looking for a pastor, I think we all want a multifunction pastor. He can work well with the youth, he can work well with the young couples.
Super pastor.
Yeah, okay. But unfortunately, there won't be one, okay, unless he come down and lead us, right? Then we'll be in trouble. So what I really pray for is a pastor that have a vision for us, okay, that he can guide us. We know we have so many vision, we have so many different direction we want to achieve, okay, just like Wellington have a whole list that he want to achieve, okay, but would that happen like this? No, okay, we need to work with our pastor, okay. Are we going to be a community church, or are we continue to take over or absorb all the babies and the children ministry people to join our congregation, and then our congregation will be, you know, steady attendance, okay? Or are we willing to go out and attract more people?
This area is an interesting area, and this congregation, I think, is a special and interesting congregation. They're children of Chinese people, often immigrants, but they've grown up in Canada in a culture and in a setting where they've gone to school and they've played with on teams, and many of their friends are people of all ethnicities and different experiences from different parts of the world. And this is like the changing face of Canada, I think, and especially when you look at this area. This area has many different people, many different cultures come to this area, and it's changing. The neighborhoods around the airport, there will be 5 new neighborhoods. They're starting construction next year, basically, or the year after. There'll be up projected 20,000 people in that area. South of this neighborhood, there's an additional 5,000 or 10,000 people that will be moving in. These are people from all over the world. These are people who, many of them speak English, but come from every different background. And many of these people are our friends. They're the people who we went to school with, who we work with, who we play soccer with, and football, and volleyball. All the sports and the games and the activities that we do are with all of these people. And I think an opportunity, a place where we can reach out to our friends, where we can invite them in, people who are not familiar with Christianity, but we can be a bridge to sharing that God's love with them. It would be, I think, an amazing opportunity. If we can use arts, if we can use music, if we can use technology, if we can use just our time, our activities with them, if we can grow together as a group, if we can be able to use our strengths to share our faith and to share Christ's love with them, I think that God will use us far more than if we're trying to fill roles, trying to fill jobs, trying to get work done. I think what we need to be doing is coming to God with praise, with prayer, with longing to do what He wants us to do. And I think that's maybe what we need is leadership that will train us and teach us and uplift us, challenge us through their action, through their teaching about how we can reach others, how we can know God more every day.
The English congregation is, it's a congregation that's near and dear to my heart. It's kind of where I grew up, where I learned about God, where I learned about myself. It's very dear to me. So some things that I'd like to see in the English congregation is for us to be missional. I know that we are part of the National Baptist Association, and we do send out missionaries, but or that we support missionaries. I would really like to be able to have homegrown, like made in ECBC, foreign missionaries. I think that would be so fantastic. The other way that I think that we could support missions is for us to have like local social justice missions, because we can send people out to the far reaches of the earth, but the truth of the matter is that we have lots of needs. God is needed here in Edmonton, in our midst, and so people who need help, people on the street, nations who are, you know, poor and they're hungry. You know, God told us to go and minister to those people. So I'd like to see us have a group around that. I'd also like us to have a small group or a fellowship that's non-threatening, so that you know, we can go out to the four reaches of the earth. We can go to our local Edmonton community and serve them. But we could also serve the people that God has already placed in our lives, in our sphere of influence. I'd like for us to have a place where we can invite non-Christians to come, and it would be totally non-threatening. That's something that would be new, that'd be open to new people, to non-believers. Something that'd be fun. Something that's just a place for people to be real, you know, and people to connect. I'd also like to see us be discipleship building, so that we can have a mentorship system, maybe an intergenerational one. I mean, mentorship, there's a lot of different ways that we can go about it, and I haven't really thought too much about how to go about it, but I think just being able to have older, wiser, more experienced Christians be able to mentor and teach younger Christians on how to be Christians and how to live life and how to walk life together. I'd like us to be able to do discipleship in small groups and in Sunday school, in particular in Sunday school, because I don't think there are lots of people who don't come for Friday night fellowships or small groups, and Sundays are the only days that they can have any kind of interaction with their ECBC community. So I'd like us to make it Sunday school count, you know. Also, I'd really like our church to be worship-minded. I'd like us to have services that are humble, where the worship team and the congregation, they're humble before God. You know, they come and they're able to be repentant. They realize that God is here in our midst, and they're constantly in prayer and intercession with one another, and being repentful. That's not even a word, but you know. I'd also like our church to be more prayerful. You know, God calls us to be the light of the world, to be a city on a hill, and you know, it's so difficult. We can't do that on our own. We can't do that on our own strength. And so we really need to ask God to come work in our own lives individually, but also as a community, so that at all levels we can be bringing God's kingdom to the world. And the other part about worship is that I would like us to be able to do all of those things, be humble and have a place of repentance, and be prayerful. I'd like for the arts to be able to support all of that. You know, our God has gifted so many individuals in our church with so many different gifts and talents, that you know, it would be so great for them to be able to support their church, their community through the talents that God has given them. So we don't always have to go out and you know, buy slides or go and do extra things. So there you have it. They're kind of vague, a little, but you know, I'd like to see our church go that way.
Basically, what I was thinking of with our vision for the church is to, okay, outreach is a good thing, but if we do it to other groups of people, like people in extended care, or as Stephen suggested, people in prisons, or, you know, like not just the homeless. Like, I think outreach is a really good idea for just all of the marginalized groups in society.
Hey, so I just want to say something about something that Lily mentioned to me, and she was saying how for this pastor, she'd like to see how she'd like the pastor to see what kind of people we are and what kind of gifts we have, and forming a vision and action plan on how we should for our ministries and how we can serve, rather than seeing what jobs need to be done and plugging people into it, because it's happened for a while, and a lot of times a person doesn't feel like they belong, or that they're interested in it, or that they have the skills to do it, and that seems to be how we've run things in the past. That we need Sunday school to be done, we need fellowship, and we need someone to do this and this and this, and we go out and try to get people interested in it. But a lot of times they just feel like they're stuck in position because they're not passionate about it. So she said that she'd like this pastor to sort of see what resources we have and go on from there, which I completely agree with. And yeah, one of the things that we mentioned is that I think sometimes we expect to have a super pastor who can do everything, but that's the reality is it's not going to happen. And I think one of the problems was when Tawa was here, we relied on him too much, and so we weren't working as a body. We were expecting Tawa to do everything, like as an analogy, I guess we expected the hand to help us walk, the hand to feed us, the hand to pump our heart, which when you saw when Tawa left, we sort of just weren't sure how to function, we weren't sure what we were supposed to do. We were relying too much on him. And then when Pastor D came, we were sort of expecting the same thing from him. We were just sort of sitting around expecting direction, which I guess sort of makes sense when you see so many people that aren't doing anything, that they're not using their abilities to the fullest. I guess another point would be that this pastor would challenge us and provide us with opportunities to serve and just encourage us to make use of what God has given us. So yeah, that's all I have to say.